Welcome to Botches Off-Road. Today's going to be pretty fun. We're talking about Cash for Clunkers. You know, everyone's favorite government-funded program that did nothing bad to the economy whatsoever.
Insert your laugh track.
Yeah, insert laugh track. Honestly,
Yep.
you know, I thought it did. I thought it absolutely fucked car sales going out of it. And I guess for some models it did. But really, for looking at it, they only scrapped like 600 some thousand cars. Like, it didn't have a pretty negligible effect. But if you look at how much it costs, we'll get into it. But we'll get started. You know, let's pretend it's 2008. Gavin, what were you doing in 2008?
Dude, I don't even know. I think I was running around the streets with my hood friends. See, 1995 minus 2003, I was 8. I was not running around with my hood friends. I was pretty sure elementary school. So,
Wait, you did 2003. It's 2008.
oh, shit. Hold on. I don't know why I did 2003. I was 13.
I was in middle school.
Definitely running around with my hood friends. We were doing...
There you go.
I was doing parkour. I was skipping school.
Oh, yeah. And you were making sure to announce parkour every
Yes.
time you did something?
Yep, we were doing parkour in abandoned buildings, skipping school.
Hell yeah.
Getting suspended. What else was I doing? Doing planks. I don't know if you remember that. That was like a viral thing back then. Planking.
It was, yeah.
We were doing plank on pylons in the middle of the mall, on top of the arcades in the mall. Like, yeah, we were doing all that. That was a bad kid back then. So, yeah.
I was playing my saxophone in band, not even marching band yet, because I was still a 7th grader.
You know what? Very fair. I was playing bass drum and drumline.
And I was riding horses, and that's all I remember, because I was not a bad kid. I did not get to go anywhere ever. My mom, with an iron fist, made sure I was not a bad kid.
See, that's a good thing, because the things that we did, man. I think we broke into an old abandoned blind school building once and stole some toilet paper that was in there. We let off an 80-pound fire extinguisher.
Jesus Christ.
I took an old exit sign that turned out to be radioactive, so my mom threw it away. Yeah.
So you're just poisoning the water for everyone years to come. Got it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know where she threw it away to. She might have actually thrown it away, but I think it had like I don't know, radium or something in it.
Yeah, the radium.
Yeah.
Like a watch
radium.
face.
Yeah. But that was pretty cool. I really liked it. It glued in the dark no matter what.
I bet it did. And I bet that there's a lady who lost all her teeth and all her hair and ended up dying as she painted your exit sign.
She probably did. What was I doing off-roading and car-wise, though? We were going on camping trips in my stepdad's Wrangler. And we're going up to like Drummond, camping around the UP at like KOA sites because they didn't like to like rustic camp.
The closest to off-roading I was doing is the year that my dad bought his 1991 442, the black one. So no off-roading whatsoever.
Yeah.
No. And it was rough. Like, the guy he bought it from had rebuilt the engine with his buddies in the garage.
Resurfaced it on the garage floor.
Honestly, dude, probably. But that car, I mean, obviously it touched me somewhere. Whether it was appropriate or not, we'll have yet to find, because I ended up buying one of the damn things.
We're going to have to get a doll out for you.
Yeah. But yeah, that was it. Like, that car really kind of started my love for cars, not my love for trucks, because I was already diesel addicted by that point.
Yeah. The point is that we weren't doing a whole lot. We were pretty young.
Yeah.
No.
our personal experience with vehicles at that point wasn't all much at all. We had other things in mind at the time, but it definitely affected other people and still affects us to this day, which is why we want to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I remember at the time I've always been pretty politically motivated, and I always thought this was the stupidest program because it was just going to take cars that I cared about off the road. And I never looked too much into it, but doing the research for this, it definitely took cars that I cared about off the road.
Yeah.
Um,
I think I didn't really do any research on Cash for Clunkers until I was in my late 20s. I didn't really know anything about it. Didn't really care because to me it hadn't affected me, and when I went into the used car market, the prices were what they were. Like I didn't know any different because
right.
when you found a $1,000, $800 to $1,000 car, that was an $800,000 car. I didn't know that the prices may have been influenced from the mass extinction event that we call Cash for Clunkers. So,
Yeah. But I do have some voicemails from people that were actually affected by it because, they're old. What do the kids call old people? Unks? They're unks.
Unks or
something like that.
boomers.
No, I think boomers is over. I think it's unks now.
I don't think there's much of
No.
any. There's not a lot of boomers left.
Yeah. But I don't know. This guy might classify as a boomer. I'm not sure. We got Joe Karen. He called in with his little thing about Cash for Clunkers. So let's hear what he had to say. Make sure my volume's up so that everyone hears it.
Wow, Cash for Clunkers, huh? Well, I'll just say, I believe it was a bad deal for everyone. It sounded great, and for those of us who are struggling to make ends meet or secure a good job, the promise of a quick $3,500 to $4,500 was enticing. However, in my opinion, the negative side effects outweighed any short-term or long-term benefits. Everyone knows that $3,500 doesn't go very far, especially if you're jobless or working reduced hours, as many of us were in 2009. It was like a sugar rush, great in the moment, but it just didn't last long. In fact, most of the cars destroyed probably could have been fixed for less than the $3,500 to $4,500 paid out. Destroying these economically older but fixable cars had several side effects. Number one, the used car market became more costly. It was more difficult to find an affordable used car. Simple supply and demand. Two, the program removed many repairable good used cars from circulation. Repairs that likely cost way less than the $3,500 to $4,500 that were handed out. And three, the program hurt the used car market and the salvage markets. The cars had to be destroyed, not dismantled for parts. And the program cost taxpayers a whopping $2.8 to $3 billion just to destroy the 677,000 vehicles that it purchased. There was no real-world benefit to the taxpayer, not across the board anyway. Our tax money wasn't used to stimulate the economy, produce jobs, or provide a lasting and tangible benefit to taxpayers. What was supposed to be a stimulus to the economy ended up being a net loss. Of the new car sales it supposedly fostered, studies showed that roughly 45% would have happened anyway. The increase in new auto production was minimal at best and only temporary. So in summary, I would say it's a stupid program, or it was a stupid program, like most government-derived and taxpayer-funded programs are. Oh, and trash can turkey is the best. Keep up the good work, guys.
Not very informative, Joe. Thank you for that call in. That was I think that kind of wraps up. Not really, but it does kind of speak to it. Like it was kind of a waste of money. We have another guy that commented, I will talk on a little bit of really the percentage of cars that were destroyed. But it is kind of stupid that they handled it like a warranty company.
Right.
Whereas they made you destroy it so you could not use it anymore, where it would have stimulated the economy otherwise, to have it put into a junkyard and used as parts later.
Right.
Like, that would have made more sense, because then the economy could make money off of buying some of these parts from an actual junked car. So,
Yeah.
it just doesn't make sense on why they would do something like that.
And we do have another comment, which kind of goes counterpoint to Joe's.
Yep.
This one was a comment from Derek Fiespro. Makes sense that those two are against each other.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
But,
I'll read this one. And he says, I'm going to be the bad guy here, like always. Cash for Clunkers took 677,081 vehicles off the market in 2009. 10.4 million vehicles, 10.4 million new vehicles were sold in 2009. There were about 246 million registered vehicles in America in 2009. Cash for Clunkers destroyed about 0.275% of available vehicles at that time. The image below shows the registered vehicles in America from 2000 to 2025. You can see that Cash for Clunkers was hardly a blip. Likewise, you can see that the average age of the vehicle was largely unaffected, indicating that Cash for Clunkers played a smaller role than many people talk about. And I think in a way he's got a point, but I think it's a different role than what we're talking about. Like, in the large group of vehicles that are on the road today, or because that's 2025, it may not be a big deal, but for the amount of parts that would have been available, the amount of cars that could have been recycled and reused, much like Joe Karen said, in reference to the short gains that it made, it's a lot like the stimulus checks that came out that we had in our time. We got very short gains, but it was kind of didn't really do anything for anybody. It didn't help. It didn't really push up the economic situation at the time.
right.
Most of us were already paying shit that we were already out of because of COVID happening in the first place. So
It's interesting to me. I've got that sales chart. If you look at it, it's got the recession from 2008 to 2009, which, mind you, the recession was pretty much over by the time that Cash for Clunkers actually happened. Obviously, there are still people struggling, but things were getting much better. So not only was it not timed to, if they'd put that maybe 2-3 months earlier, it probably would have helped a lot, but it wasn't the right time for it. And you'll see the blip in car sales, and you'll see that there was then a following lull in car sales. So at the end of the day, it really didn't help auto sales whatsoever. With their stated goals were that they wanted to get gas guzzlers off the road and replace them with more fuel efficient cars. Well, the thing is, it costs more to produce that fuel efficient car than it does to keep driving the gas guzzler. So that doesn't even help the environment.
Only that,
no,
not to butt in too, but these vehicles were the era of the gas saving vehicles already.
Yeah.
The 80s, from what was it, 84 to 2000?
84.
Were all the gutted,
current.
like V6 and tiny cylinders and
underpowered
V8s, that were all gutted so that they could meet fuel economy and emissions and this and that. I mean, it was already well known as like the gutless era of our vehicles. So, not sure why they were trying to do 80s, where like it would make more sense to do to open it up from like the 60s and up. And if they were really trying to do that, it just seems odd to me that they would choose literally the era of cars that were trying to help the economy out.
We spent, what was it, like $3 billion in 2 months, because this program only lasted 2 months.
Yeah.
So 670,000 cars. We sold about 650,000 back into the market. Like, that's, the math just isn't there to say it even did anything, except for cost us money.
Yeah, not to mention the extra work of the people at scrapyards to have to make these cars run. So they had to put this fluid, which Alex, what is it?
They had to drain out the oil, and then they had to fill it with sodium silicate,
and
then run it until the engine seized.
And
oh,
so it takes the time and labor of each one of these employees to do that, and then they scrap the car. Like, that's extra.
And then they had to crush it within 6 months or 180 days, so 6 months.
Yeah,
like it, and you got to keep track of which ones were cash for clunker cars because you can't leave them out. Like, this was just all around bad.
So
bad
they added
planning.
work for scrap yards, where what they could have done is scrapped it, give it the scrap title so that it can't be sold as a whole car, and then put it in the scrap yard and let it sell for parts so that it would boost the scrap yards. The money they would get coming in, it would help out everybody else with lower incomes that couldn't afford to just sell the car and buy a new one. They could go to the scrapyard, they could buy some parts. People nowadays who are trying to resurrect these vehicles would have more options. Yes, 600,000 vehicles wasn't that much, but even a little is enough, especially nowadays.
Yeah.
You go and start looking for parts around the 80s and stuff, and it gets real slim, especially in scrapyards nowadays.
Yeah. And when you look at especially certain vehicles, right? Like XJs, there were like 25,000 XJs scrapped or something.
Right.
Look at what that did to the XJ market. There were a lot of XJs made, but most of those were going to get totaled anyway. Then we scrapped how many because of this? It's hard to get parts for XJs. It's hard to find an XJ that isn't ridiculously priced. And part of that is that they were built, right? A lot of people built XJs, so there's a reason that happened. But just think about how much we would have had 600 or 25,000 more XJs to get parts off of.
Yeah.
Like that's a pretty substantial number.
And they wouldn't be worth the $2,000 that they are today. They'd be still sitting at $800 cars, $500.
And not to mention that the cars that were turned in for the CARS program, the Cash for Clunkers was named the CARS program, which makes it hard to talk about, but whatever. The cars that were turned in for this program, right? They had to run. They had to be operating vehicles. You couldn't bring in your crappy car that you tow into the yard. It had to run. It had to be drivable.
Which is funny because later, even dealers were, I remember this specifically, dealers were saying, car doesn't run, car doesn't start, tow it in, we'll give you a trade. Like, that was like a huge thing.
Yeah.
And then Kias went fucking crazy, or Hyundais.
So, that is one of the effects that Cash for Clunkers had, was that a lot of smaller Cash for Clunker-like programs have stemmed off it, right? Which have honestly done more damage than Cash for Clunkers itself did. So Colorado, if you drive a car in and trade it in on an EV, they destroy your car and give you a credit towards an EV. And they've done, I can't get exact numbers, but somewhere in the 600,000 on that alone. And that's one state. And there's like 5 or 6 other states I've seen that have it. So, and that makes you wonder, and this goes into the next thing. There were a lot of conspiracy theories around why this program actually existed.
Yeah.
If you think about the time period, so we're talking 2009, that's about the time when companies started putting in little transponders that the police could deactivate your car on the side of the road. They could track your car if it got stolen. And they always said that was the stated goal. But there's a theory that the goal was to get as many people in cars that could be turned off by the police, so it was easier to pull people over and arrest them.
Yeah. Not to mention, it was trying to save all of these car dealerships that were about to go under during the recession. And we're talking GM, Ford, Dodge, some of the biggest U.S. auto manufacturers and sellers were all struggling hard. And it was a big push to get people to buy because nobody was buying during the recession. And these guys were dying.
And, you can't even say it was successful at saving them because GM and Dodge both had to take a bailout anyway.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, Ford, bless Ford's heart. They did not take the bailout because the stuff that the government wanted them to do would turn them against their customers, and they weren't for it. But both Chrysler and GM were all for turning on their customer to get this bailout.
By the way, screw the Dodge brothers. They suck wiener.
Dude, listen, Chrysler from the start was awful. Like everything, like Dodge has always had a history of just being against workers and against the American people.
Yep. If you read how the Dodge brothers started and why they left Ford, sued Ford, why that whole thing. I like Dodges in general. I don't like how it started, and that was a shitty thing. But anyway.
No, the Dodge brothers were awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also like Dodges because they look great, but they have terrible electronics, and their engines are questionable at best.
And dashes crack with a slight wind breeze.
Bro, I have owned 4 or 5 second-gen Dodges, and only one of them had a cracked dash, and that I'm pretty proud of that fact.
Yeah. So
because they're all destroyed.
So the rules that mandated cash for clunkers, they had to be built in a model year 1984 or later, be in drivable condition, and yield a combined EPA rating of 18 miles per gallon or less. I don't know if anybody drives today. I'm pretty sure my fucking FJ gets 18 miles per gallon or less. A lot of vehicles still do from the 2000s.
Yeah.
So doesn't
my
make...
4Runner. My 4Runner gets about 18 on the expressway, and my Ford gets exactly 18 on the expressway.
And those were considered gas guzzlers, 18 miles per gallon or less. And maybe it is, but like I don't consider that. I consider like 8 miles to the gallon, 10 miles to the gallon gas guzzler. Maybe I'm stuck in that.
Anything was going to be a gas guzzler, it would have been the Hummers.
Yeah, I get like my 85 454 getting like 8 miles to the gallon. I get that. That's a gas guzzler. But 18 miles per gallon or less, that should have been like 10 miles per gallon or less. And then they would have gotten rid of the actual gas guzzlers. 18 miles per gallon is pretty common for most early 2000s trucks, SUVs. At least the ones that I drove.
Buick Roadmasters. And,
El Caminos, fuckers. Got rid of like 150 El Caminos. I don't even like them, but I still feel for them.
Mark, you'll find it interesting. I have a list. I'll put it in the show notes. There were no Hummers turned in for cash for clunkers.
That's crazy.
Wow. I'm surprised.
Yeah, they were like, no, it's a Hummer.
Everything would have been considered a gas guzzler. It would have been a Hummer.
Right.
Fuck.
There was a 84 Buick Riviera convertible, and that was the first year convertible variant. There was a 1984 Maserati biturbo, a twin turbo luxury coupe.
Having worked on a biturbo, I understand why that car was
that maybe 84 Chevy Corvette C4. So there was a good amount of Corvettes. And I say a good amount as in that's way too many for me to see one on there.
Right.
And as Alex was saying, an 84 Jeep Cherokees were some of the oldest, obviously, because they were in the 84. And then some of the rarest was a beautiful 1987 Buick GNX, one of 547 built.
A GMC Typhoon.
Right. A 1997 Bentley Continental R, one of 1,500 that retail for over 300,000 new.
There were thousands of Astro all-wheel drives turned in. Not necessarily rare, but rare today. Only because of this program.
Yeah. A 1997 Aston Martin DB7 Volante, which are absolutely beautiful handcrafted V12s. And if you ever watched a bomb film, you'd know that you want one. Those retail over $135,000, and somebody turned that fucking thing in.
And, a lot of these cars, we don't see a blip on their market, right? But like the XJ market, we know that changed. I'm looking at the Buick Roadmaster market because they're one of my favorite cars. And there were thousands of Roadmasters turned in.
Oh,
and
yeah.
those things are like $7,000 today.
Yeah.
For a shitty one.
There was an 89 Pontiac 20th anniversary Trans Am, one of 1,555 built. There were high performance and rare Germans, BMW 850i's, M3s, AMGs. There were Supras, Celica Supras, Starions, Conquest, Chrysler Conquest TSI twin turbos, MX7s. Oddly, as Alex pointed out, no MX8s, right? Is that what you said? Or RX8s?
Yeah, lots of RX-7s, not a lot. Only one RX-8.
Yeah, and two 1987 Excalibur Series V Phaetons. Look this fucking thing up. This is like one of the coolest cars ever. They are so cool. I don't know. I don't know what kit this is supposed to be from, like what they're covering over, but it's basically.
I think it's one of their. The company Excalibur made cars. It mimics a 1928 Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah, and it looks absolutely sick. I would have loved to have one of these. They're on eBay right now there's one on eBay for $92,500. That's crazy. If someone would have just held on to that for a couple more years, they would have made so much more money off of that. Just left it in the barn.
For sure.
But instead, they crushed it because they believed what the government was telling them. Not saying that the government was like, it was some kind of conspiracy thing, but just bullshit.
So to kind of wrap this one up a little bit, did it have a major effect on the market? Overall, I would say probably not. But there are cars that it had a major effect on.
Yeah.
And
I would I was going to say,
Kevin.
I would argue that it didn't have a real effect on the sales market then, but it had an effect on the used car market today, and what I would say a good 70 to 80% of people are looking for today, because you can't afford a $20, $30, $40, $80,000 car payment. What we can afford is $1,000 to $10,000 cars, and while there wasn't that many wiped out, it's still enough to affect what we have today and affect the prices that we have today, even for inflation that still doesn't count. So, yeah, it kind of blows.
Yeah. Well, boys, I think that's all I've got on Cash for Clunkers.
Yeah. What a sad, misfortuned event.
This was a really fun episode to research, by the way. Really, really fun.
I'm mad about the Phaeton. Really mad about that.
Think about cars like that one, right? You turn it in for $4,500. Today it's worth $90K.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the Typhoon that got turned in.
Yeah,
they got $4,500. Well, today that's a $150,000 truck.
Just another instance of short gain for little coin. It's like people selling their gold during the recession. Then they could have waited till today and sold it, and it's at like an all-time high. So, kind of crazy. Now, there were a shit ton of 80s square bodies that were destroyed, and that's also horrible. This is why our 80s square body market is unbelievably fucking crazy.
Yeah, so, I mean, it might not have had a major effect overall for the used car market, like a carrying effect, but cars that we cared about as kids are now basically unobtainium because of Cash for Clunkers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode, boys. Get some tinfoil, get some saran wrap. Let's wrap it up. We'll talk to you guys.
I'll stick it in the
next
fridge.
One. Yeah. We'll ice it for later.
Later.
Later.